Honda just released the all-new Accord, which means there's surely a new Camry just around the corner. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Now, when we say all-new Camry, that definitely means it's a big deal. The Camry has, for 21 years straight, been the best-selling sedan in America. As a matter of fact, they've sold about 7 million Camrys since 2005, and our parents have actually owned 3 Camrys, not to mention our grandparents and all types of family members.
Aunts.
It is a very popular product. So when it's up for a redesign, that certainly is big news. And the current generation came out in 2018, so we are about ready to get a new Camry. And it's worth noting the new Accord just came out. We actually just drove that a few months ago. So
that's right. A lot of you guys have been talking about it in respect to the new Accord. You know, should I buy an Accord now or should I wait and see what Toyota has up their sleeve? Well, hopefully we can bring a little clarity to that situation and make some useful predictions for you guys today. So let's kind of dive right into that.
Now, in our typical review fashion, we'll start with the exterior, then we'll hit some of the interior highlights, then we'll talk about powertrain expectations, as well as the availability and when you might be able to expect this Camry. So let's go ahead and start with the exterior. We do have some really good renderings. We have several different options for renderings, but we're going to start with this one, which we think is the most realistic one. This one was drawn by Theodore. He makes some really good content on YouTube and some good videos and renderings of new vehicles. So this should be actually pretty accurate, if you ask me, as to what this new Camry is going to look like. So let's go ahead and break down some of the design elements.
Hopefully it looks accurate.
I do too.
I think this looks really good. So you guys can let us know what you think down below. But the overall aesthetic of this is quite stylish, quite aggressive as well. Of course, as you'd expect, we're seeing some elements from the Crown. So we drove the Crown not too long ago, a few months ago, and that is their latest sedan in the lineup. And we're seeing some of that family resemblance here with this new Camry and the way that the front is shaped.
Yeah, and then you'll see here some interesting elements are going on with the headlights here. So we do have a little piece jutting out on the top part. Then we come down to some crystal LEDs. That would be a pretty cool look. That is something that is on the Toyota Crown, is that crystal LED design. So I really hope that comes down from the Crown onto the Camry, which I think is very possible. And then, for the lower fascia here, we do have a big open grille. I assume what we're looking at here would be like an XSE model. This looks very sporty and cool design. We have a two-tone mirror set up as well, but we do have a sporty mesh grille up here in the front, and then we have some big fake vents off to the side. But overall, I think this looks really good. So hopefully Toyota can come up with something that looks pretty similar to this.
For sure. One thing I do want to mention, since we're kind of looking a little bit at the side perspective, is that two-tone roof is, of course, always been something that we've liked, and it's been available in the previous generation. So I would hope and expect that would come to the new generation as well. Really helps with the sporty look, especially on the XSE.
And let's go ahead and move on to the back and enlarge what the rendering looks like for this area. I think this also looks really quite good. Now, as far as some of the design elements that I'm noticing here, this is not too similar to a Toyota Crown, to be entirely honest. I think this looks pretty distinct in the Toyota lineup. One thing I am noticing, blackout spoiler up top. That would be, of course, something that you'd find on an XSE model. Then we do have this black piece intersecting between the taillights, and the taillights look quite nice. These are, look like LED taillights.
Looks like 4 separate housings. That's really interesting.
And we do have Camry spelled out across the back, which is something that we've seen on the Toyota Crown, so that wouldn't surprise me. And one thing I do want to point out, though, is that we do not have exhaust pipes.
Now we flipped over to the next tab. We have a different kind of rendering. This one's from Motor Trend, and it really represents, I think, a lot more aggressive look. So this is if Toyota kind of gets more radical with the Camry and really pushes the envelope. then we'll have something that looks like this.
Yeah, if they Prius it and go fully wild, then you might have a Camry that looks like this with the really angular LED headlamps here. I think the front end does look pretty realistic to what a Camry could look like if they go that more aggressive route. I think the side is kind of where it looks a little bit unrealistic for me in this specific rendering.
And the width.
Yeah.
The width, it seems really, really wide.
This maybe looks like a GR Camry or something a little wild, but here's the back of this specific rendering. I think this also is a bit too aggressive for Camry duty, considering that most Camrys, are pretty bland looking unless you get the XSE or whatever. So I think this is going to be a bit on the aggressive side, but we did go ahead and pull up another rendering that I'd say is maybe on the more tasteful, like kind of bland side. This rendering right here kind of uses a lot of the elements that we've seen from the Toyota rendering that we just looked at a little bit ago, except this is not as sporty, so this might be a different trim level of it.
This looks a little more inspired by the Prius to me versus the other one more inspired by the Crown. We'll see which way it goes. It could obviously go either way. And lastly here for our fourth rendering, this one we got AI actually to generate for us, so we're kind of using that advanced technology here today to see what it thinks is the most likely, and this is what it came up with after a few different iterations. This one kind of reminds me of a little bit like the Motor Trend one, but also perhaps a little bit more realistic, subdued and more realistic.
Yeah. I think this looks more like what a Camry could look like. Those headlights are super cool.
Love those lights, yeah.
That would be really awesome if they did that, but now that we've seen all four of these renderings, we want to ask you guys in the comment section which one you think this new Camry will look most like. I think I'm going with number 1 personally. That's why we showed it first, but I wouldn't mind to see something like number 4 here.
Right. Yeah, I think number 1 or number 4, if we go for kind of a different kind of design that's not so much inspired by the Crown. Toyota might use Camry to, set a new standard of design. It is kind of their most important sedan. So, all right, so let's go ahead and talk interior next. Now, of course, like we've been talking about, this is speculative. We don't have any official views of the interior or pictures, spy shots, anything like that. That being said, we're kind of looking for patterns, because we are in a lot of Toyotas, and the recent patterns have indicated that the design language has been moving towards kind of a, let's call it, Crown-esque interior design. So I think it was like October we drove the Crown that had that new look to it, right? We drove the Prius after that, similar look. And then we got into the Grand Highlander just about a month ago, also kind of a similar look. So that seems to be the way Toyota is moving. Now, with that being said, what would that give you if the Camry gets a Crown-esque design? Well, it seems like it's going to give you primarily a big central touchscreen that's kind of mounted in the portrait style. And then that's 12.3 inches in those models. And then you also have the large digital gauge cluster, which is also 12.3 inches.
You're also going to get wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, which is a big tech enhancement that a lot of people are looking for in their newest vehicles. I don't think we will have Google built in, unlike the Accord Touring, which has that Google built-in feature. I don't think we will see that on the Toyota because a lot of their newest products are not having any type of Google interface built in.
Right. This is just now the beginning of their brand new infotainment system, so I don't anticipate they're going to work on any types of integration in that regard for at least a few more years.
Yeah, and as far as other design elements, you saw that right there, the shifter is going to be that little nub style shifter. It's going to be an electronic one probably.
Right, and right here with the steering wheel as well. We've been seeing kind of some new designs from Toyota. A lot of their models kind of had that same design that the current Camry had for a while. Now we're seeing this new iteration. Now, of course, that being said, that also might mean that it's a little bit more conventional in design versus the current generation. So the current one is kind of asymmetric, has that big swoop that comes through the passenger side, and it has a very visually interesting design that this one maybe is a little bit more toned down if it has that Crown-esque interior. Now let's get into the powertrain. I think this is really an interesting area of discussion because there's really so many different ways Toyota could go with this. Of course, with some of the recent models, we've seen things like hybrid exclusive. That's a possibility. We've seen engine downsizing, also highly possible.
I'd say that's more than highly possible. That's probably almost
Yeah.
certain that the V6 will be discontinued for this new Camry. I know I'm sad too. I love the V6, but considering that the Highlander got rid of the V6 for a turbo 4-cylinder in 2023, I highly, highly, highly doubt that the V6 will continue, and I imagine that if they continue to offer a higher output engine offering, it will be that 2.4-liter turbo 4-cylinder.
All right.
Quick.
Yeah, so we also have, availability of this new hybrid max system if they wanted to get really radical. We could see a version of that for the Camry, like we've seen in the upcoming Grand Highlander, the Lexus RX 500h. That could be something that could be in a future GR Camry. Now, notice I said GR Camry. This is a hypothesis I have. Of course, right now we have the Camry TRD. But TRD has kind of been more associated with the truck side of things, and GR is more associated with the sedan side of things. So my personal opinion is that if we see a performance Camry in the next generation, that it will carry the GR branding, because that just kind of makes more sense from that branding perspective.
Now, another question we have is, are they going to make a plug-in hybrid variant? Maybe a Camry Prime would be cool to see, although we have still not even driven the RAV4 Prime.
We will be driving the brand new Prius Prime, though, in just about a month, so look forward to that on the channel.
Yeah, but I'd say the most likely powertrain configuration from our perspective and our professional opinion will be that you'll have a standard 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, just like the current generation model, 203 horsepower.
All right.
The hybrid's rated at 208 current generation, so it's really going to depend a lot on what they choose to do with the hybrid system. Drew and I were debating about this. Are they going to put the Prius's hybrid powertrain into the new Camry, or are we going to stick with a similar setup to what we have now?
Right, we don't really know, but if they did choose the Prius setup, that would actually drop the horsepower a little bit, but give you a tremendous boost probably in fuel economy. You could be expecting maybe something like 55 miles per gallon or 56 miles per gallon, which would be really, really exceptional. And then, of course, like we already said, there is a possibility of maybe a performance version, which could be a turbocharged 4-cylinder or a hybrid system that works in maybe a turbocharged 4-cylinder.
I did pull up, the fuel economy for the current generation model. So the current generation hybrid LE is rated at 52 miles a gallon combined, which is exceptional. The current Camry is 46 with the hybrid in the SE, XLE, and XSE variant. So I'd say very likely, even if we do keep the same powertrain setup, we might even see a bump of at least 1 or 2 mpg here. And if we move to the Prius's setup, I'd say we might see maybe 5 or more mpg bump and improvement, which would be pretty exceptional in terms of the fuel economy department, that's for sure. And I also see no reason why all-wheel drive will be discontinued, so I'd say you will have all-wheel drive on this new version of the Camry as well. But what do you guys think is going to occur in the powertrain department? I think it's really a toss-up at this point, but our best guess was what we just told you. That's what we think will be on this new 2025 Camry.
But when might you be able to get the next generation Camry, and how much might it cost? Well, we have some ideas about that. So we have up the current build-in price. Now, typically when it comes to a new generation car, you often see a little bit of an inflation in price, 5 to 10%. We also live in a time where everything seems to be inflating in price, maybe even more than that. So, we don't really know, but I would anticipate, somewhere about $27,500 for that base LE. And then on your top end, it's always been able to get right up there close to $40,000 when you get the XSE.
With options.
With options.
Yeah, it starts at $36,600, but you can add quite a few options. You can be well into the $40,000 price point with the Camry if you fully load it up. If you're looking at it as compared to that all-new Honda Accord, that's going to have a very similar starting price to $27,500 of $27,295, and the Touring model is $37,890. The Camry is always topped out a little bit higher than the fully loaded Accord as well, so I definitely would say that we're going to be pushing pretty close to $40,000, if not 41 or 42, fully loaded up with this new Camry.
Yeah, these guys are close competitors, so they're going to stay close to each other. That's for sure. Now, availability. There's been some debate on whether this is going to be a 2024 model year or a 2025 model year. Our perspective is that it's going to be a 2025 model year vehicle. We haven't seen any spy shots. We have not seen any teasers. Normally you'll see a car out there testing and someone will take a picture of it. Everybody's got a smartphone these days, right? So just on the basis of that, we think that maybe the development is skewing that towards a 2025 model year vehicle, which would put you at an availability sometime in 2024, probably the middle of 2024.
Yeah, I'd say they're summer 2024, with most of the models probably arriving like in substantial amounts in fall of 2024 if it's a 2025 model year. And guys, that's going to wrap up what we think the all-new 2025 Toyota Camry is going to be like. Now, of course, we're in the automotive industry. We know a lot about cars, especially the Camry. So I think these predictions might actually be pretty accurate when it comes to what this new Camry is going to be like. So be sure to let us know what you think personally down in the comments below, what version you think it's going to look like. Is it going to be like the first rendering, the second, third, or fourth? And what powertrains they're going to have on this new Camry. I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting new product. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, certainly hit that subscribe button right here, because we will have lots of information about this new Camry when it comes out, when we get official information from Toyota, and as more and more info becomes available. So please subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, we certainly appreciate your support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.